Right, hello again. This is our second installment on the pre-Socratic philosophers. Okay, so um, what is everything made out of? So in our last segment, we talked about the problem of the one and the many and the problem of change. So when things change, it seems like there has to be some kind of subject that stays the same throughout the process of the change, right? So for example, Spencer raising his arm, right? Spencer remains static through the change, but he's gaining a feature, namely arm raising. Now he loses arm raising, right? So how do we make sense of in the problem of change, how do we make sense of when new substances come into existence? When a dog is born, right? Or when a dog dies, a substance is going out of existence. So it seems like there is some kind of change going on, but there's no subject that is remaining the same. So um, so we're going to look today at the three philosophers, pre-Socratic philosophers from Miletus, Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes, right? And they're going to give different answers to the problem of the one and the many and to the problem of change. Okay, so consider the following. I know you've heard of this before. Earth, fire, water, and air, right? These the ancient Greeks thought that these were the basic substances of reality. So, what is this view? The idea here is that water, fire, earth, and air are non-reducible basic substances out of which everything is made, right? So this is the traditional, right? Traditional doctrine of the four elements, right? So for anything, a mug, a hand, a pen, right? It is composed to some degree out of water, fire, earth, and air, right? Okay, so with that in mind, Thales wants to say, Thales is our first pre-Socratic philosopher, right? He's kind of the first philosopher, which is super exciting. But Thales is a reductionist about the basic elements, right? So he wants to say that water is the most basic element, and everything that exists is made out of water. So the pen, the cell phone, the mug, Spencer, right? All of these things are just made out of water, just different instances of water. So, but what is reductionism? Reductionism is for some object, right? O, call it. It's really nothing but something not O, right? So, for example, I have a glass of water here, right? It's accurate to claim that water is nothing but H2O, right? Okay, so because water and H2O are just identical to one another, so water just is H2O, right? So we might say that, or the view that we're going to attribute to Thales says that, look, just like we think that water is H2O, Thales thought that pens, mugs, pianos are all just water, right? They're all just made out of different instances of water, right? In the same way that ice or water vapor or liquid water just is water, a piano, a cell phone are just instances of water, right? So we know that atoms make up all of the stuff, right? I can knock on the desk and I'm knocking on some atoms. Um, but Thales, they didn't know that, right? And so they're trying to explain what everything is made out of. And so Thales' answer is water. And everything is in some way reducible to water, including the other three elements. So earth, air, and fire, those are just instances of water. Okay, so Anaximander thinks that, look, it's a naive view to think that there can be a basic substance that's material, right? So um, Anaximander disagrees with Thales and raises various objections, right? Which we won't worry about for the purposes of this class. Rather, we will explore his response or his alternative view. So he thinks that whatever the basic substance is, it's not something material, right? If it were something material, there would always be things reduced to that basic substance, right? But we look around and there's stuff that's made out of water everywhere, right? And so the idea here is that if everything was really water, it would just decompose, eventually decompose and be water, and we would have nothing in the world but water, right? But we don't have that. So Anaximander thinks that all things are boundless, right? And he's not super clear about this, and so there's like all kinds of interpretations, which the Gardner text notes. But the idea here is that whatever the basic substance is or the basic stuff, it's not water, right? It's not any element. It's not even material, right? Whatever it is, it exists independently or distinct from matter, right? So we have matter, right? We have the mug here, and we're trying to figure out, well, what's the mug like really made out of, right? Um, Anaximander wants to say that whatever the mug is really made out of, it's not a material thing. It's like an immaterial thing that exists independently of all of matter. Okay. So a little bit of a weird answer for sure, and a counterintuitive one. Okay, and we get one third answer from Anaximenes. According to Anaximenes, the basic stuff isn't water like Thales thought. Rather, the basic stuff is air or vapor, right? So, um, in the Gardner text, he makes a claim like something like, look, he may not mean that everything is just made out of air. I actually think that that's what Anaximenes thought, right? So I'm going to disagree with the text a little bit here. So the idea here is that the basic stuff, right? The stuff from which everything is made out of is air instead of water. So Anaximenes has a view very similar to Thales, right? But he thinks that that Thales gets it wrong. He picks the wrong element. So Thales or Anaximenes wants to say that that water is reducible to air, and that fire and earth are both reducible to air, right? So he is a reductionist, right, about matter, but instead of choosing water, he chooses air as the basic element, right? So here are the three philosophers from Miletus, and then we will look at some more pre-Socratic philosophers in the next video.